The story begins with Reiko Kujirai putting on her glasses while a commercial for a new eye drop by Habanuma Pharmaceuticals airs on the TV. For breakfast, she eats some watermelon, then steps out to smoke. She lives in an older apartment complex, and soon after, gets ready for work. On her way out, Reiko passes a little girl. Meanwhile, a group of people watches a news report about Generic Terra, a controversial technology capable of backing up human memories and even granting eternal youth. They're skeptical, especially since there are rumors that Habanuma Pharmaceuticals is involved. Back with Reiko, she's been having issues with her vision and notices something strange in the sky. At the real estate agency where she works, she hurries to clock in, but just before she can, her coworker Hajime Kudo jumps in and clocks himself, making her late. When she confronts him, Kudo offers to buy her lunch as an apology. However, when Reiko picks a newly opened restaurant, Kudo isn't thrilled and chooses another place. Reiko isn't happy, especially because her glasses seem blurry all morning. Kudo suggests maybe her vision is worsening, but when he sees Reiko using Habanuma eye drops, he immediately expresses distrust, especially after the company's ownership changed hands. They shift topics to an apartment unit that's been vacant for 6 months. Kudo says it's because of the heat and lack of air conditioning. He suggests painting the walls might help, and Reiko asks if he's the one who repaired a door in one of the units. Kudo nods, saying he just wants tenants to feel comfortable. After lunch, Reiko invites Kudo for tea before work, but he declines, telling her to visit an ophthalmologist and promising they'll have tea another time. Following his advice, Reiko visits the doctor and is surprised to hear her vision is perfectly fine. Later, as they burn some paperwork, Kudo reflects on Generic Terra, calling it sinful, saying it's wrong to use tax money on something that creates a false version of Earth. Reiko expresses concern about how new restaurants in Kowloon always close quickly. Kudo explains that Kowloon is a nostalgic place where people cling to the past, that's why nothing new seems to survive. Reiko admits she doesn't feel nostalgic for Kowloon, but when she's with Kudo, she does feel something. At that moment, Kudo leans in close, almost as if to kiss her, but instead, he just comments on the crow's feet near her eyes. The next day, Reiko shows up with non-prescription glasses, saying she's trying to adjust to life without them. Kudo teases her, saying she's just trying to hide signs of aging. When she prepares to argue, she notices his sleeve is dirty. Kudo says it's a habit. He touches all the number 8s on the walls of Kowloon whenever he passes them. After work, they explore different eateries around town. Kudo wants Reiko to experience what life in Kowloon is really like. They eat until she's full, and just as she thinks they're done, he takes her to the Goldfish Tea House, where his friend works. They're treated to slices of watermelon, and Reiko once again feels a wave of nostalgia. She mentions how nice it is to smoke after eating watermelon, something oddly familiar to Kudo. He explains that small, peculiar habits like that help him remember people. Those little quirks bring them back to life in his memory. As they leave, the tea house owner thanks Kudo for bringing his girlfriend again. Reiko, flustered, says people might get the wrong idea, but Kudo brushes it off, saying it's nothing to worry about. She momentarily zones out staring at Generic Terra, and when she snaps back, Kudo returns with a goldfish souvenir so she won't forget the day. On another day, Reiko tries Kudo's suggestion and begins painting the walls of the hot, vacant apartment. A photochemical pollution alert makes it worse. Overheated and exhausted, she nearly collapses, but Kudo arrives just in time, offers her a cold drink, and helps finish the last wall. That's when she realizes she's in love with Hajime Kudo. The following day, she searches for the Goldfish Tea House but can't find it. At work, she finds Kudo asleep at his desk. When she tries to wake him, he suddenly kisses her, like it was completely normal. Then he wakes up and apologizes, saying she's the wrong person. Reiko is left stunned, wondering if the kiss meant anything to him at all. After he leaves, she accidentally knocks over some papers and finds a hidden photo of Kudo with a girl, and the sight of it startles her. Later, she visits the tea house again and shows the photo to Kudo's friend. The man smiles warmly and says that was a fun day. That photo was taken to celebrate her marriage to Kudo. Reiko Kujirai is left more confused than ever. What is the truth behind this strange connection? Is she really the woman in that photo? Or could there be another Reiko Kujirai? After leaving the tea shop, Reiko got a call from Xiaohei, the young girl who had been complaining about noisy neighbors. Since Reiko had arranged the apartment for her, she went to check it out. When she arrived, she stumbled upon a room full of dolls, and out of nowhere, a mysterious woman emerged from behind. behind them. Her name was Yaomei, and it turned out she made those dolls for a living, 50 of them, in fact, which explained all the noise. Despite just meeting her, Reiko found herself opening up. She showed Yaomei a photograph and admitted that the woman in it wasn't her, or at least, she didn't remember being her. That's when it hit her. This wasn't the only memory she had lost. She couldn't recall anything from her past. Reiko had never realized this until now, and Hajime had never brought it up either. Understanding her pain, Yaomei shared her own story. She had undergone plastic surgery all over her body to escape her past. Whenever someone recognized her, she'd simply deny it. To her, identity was a choice. She had even brought pies, the same kind she ate after her surgeries, and gave one to Reiko, calling it a rebirth cake for the new her. Then, the scene shifts to the past, back when Hajime had just transferred to the company from Japan. He met a woman who looked like Reiko but wasn't quite the same. Her appearance was slightly different, and so was her personality. She was the one who introduced Hajime to the city, told him about the lucky number 8, and took him to that special restaurant. Basically, all the things we saw Hajime doing with Reiko recently were originally done by Reiko B, as we'll now call her, not the current Reiko. On a rooftop, while sipping watermelon juice and smoking, Reiko B once gave that emotional speech about Kowloon, the same one the current Reiko said. It was clear, Reiko B loved Kowloon deeply. Back in the present, Reiko was having lunch with Yaomei at a new restaurant. They talked about the photo again. Yaomei suggested she ask Hajime directly, but Reiko refused, confessing she had feelings for him. To avoid confusion, they decided to refer to the woman in the photo as Reiko B. Whether Reiko and Reiko B were the same person with lost memories or just two people who happened to look alike remained a mystery. Yaomei mentioned the possibility that Hajime was simply waiting for her memories to come back, which could explain why he kept taking her to the same places as before. But this idea only added to Reiko's inner turmoil. She started to wonder, how did Hajime see her now? Later, at work, Hajime invited her out to dinner. He suggested they go to their usual spot. Reiko asked if being around her made him feel nostalgic, and he admitted it did. The mood grew romantic, until he bluntly pointed out she had no ear piercings and still had wrinkles. That hurt her. After he left, she quietly hid the photo where she had originally found it. Another day, Habanuma Pharmaceuticals announced free health checkups for all Kowloon residents. Reiko and Yaomei went, excited by the chance to meet the new company head doctor, Miyuki, who had a reputation as the best. Xiaohei was there too. After the checkups, they saw someone offering free cosmetic consultations. Reiko, remembering Hajime's comment about her wrinkles, decided to sign up. Meanwhile, Hajime found out that Tao, his friend at the tea shop, had quit without warning. Curious, Reiko and Yaomei visited the shop but found no answers. On their way back, they browsed earrings. Reiko, recalling Hajime's remark about her unpierced ears, bought a pair similar to the ones Reiko B used to wear. Later, Hajime went to check on Tao's place, since he'd rented the house from him. But when he tried to look up Tao's address, a strange error occurred. Something wasn't right. At that moment, Reiko arrived. For a brief second, Hajime saw the woman he once loved, but quickly reminded himself she wasn't the same. With a serious expression, he told her to stop doing pointless things. Reiko went to Yaomei's place afterward, heartbroken and in tears. Yaomei comforted her, both of them realizing the truth. Hajime was in pain seeing someone who looked like his lost love, and Reiko was stuck not knowing who she really was. Reiko decided to pack away all of Reiko B's belongings. The next day, Hajime apologized for what he had said, but Reiko didn't forgive him so easily. She agreed to let it go only if she got to pick where they ate. They went to a new restaurant, and to Hajime's surprise, the food was amazing, so he couldn't complain. Still, he admitted he preferred their usual spot. As they walked out, they noticed something unusual. The Generic Terra tower was glowing more brightly than usual. The following day, they returned to the clinic for Reiko's consultation. She hadn't dressed up much, so Yaomei convinced her to at least wear lipstick, though Reiko hesitated, since the makeup belonged to Reiko B. Inside the consultation room, Reiko finally met Miyuki. As she brought up her wrinkles, Miyuki received a suspicious file and his demeanor suddenly changed. He leaned in, asking strange, probing questions about her past, but Reiko couldn't answer due to her memory loss. Smiling creepily, he told her that her wrinkles were different, not earned over time, but as if they had always existed, like shallow grooves. Still, he wasn't interested in her past, only her present. With an unnervingly slick tone, he said he wanted to know everything about her. Terrified, Reiko fled the room, dragging Yaomei with her. As they escaped, Miyuki wiped off Reiko's lipstick and smeared it onto himself, murmuring with a sinister grin, Marvelous. In the past, Hajime and Reiko helped an old man fix his door. Afterward, Hajime suddenly felt dizzy. Concerned, Reiko took him to her home to rest. There, Hajime noticed how Reiko's house lacked the usual things one might find in a girl's home. As they talked, he recalled something Reiko had once said about nostalgia, and strangely, he started feeling that same sensation. Reiko explained that nostalgia isn't just about longing for the past but also about the emotions we want to keep locked away, like being in love. In the present, Reiko was getting ready for work, chatting to her fish and promising to buy a bigger aquarium soon. At work, Hajime arrived, but not alone. He brought along Miyuki, who was planning to open another clinic in Kowloon. Hajime was clearly on edge, especially because Miyuki seemed to have personal intentions toward Reiko. When Hajime stood too close to him, Miyuki sprayed sanitizer in his face. Seeing he couldn't get Reiko alone with Hajime around, Miyuki decided to leave, but not before pulling Reiko in and kissing her. He told her she'd be smarter to choose him instead of Hajime. His assistant was stunned, since Miyuki had a germ phobia. But Miyuki replied, "It's in a snake's nature to swallow what it wants." Hajime was furious and wanted to fight the head of the pharmaceutical company, while Reiko had no clue what just happened. Later, Reiko found a perfect aquarium and, with Hajime's help, brought it home. At first, Hajime was happy, but then he sensed things were different. Alone, he remembered his wife and quietly left, burdened with emotions. The next day, Reiko gave Hajime a sunflower. Then, Xiaohei appeared, looking for a new apartment big enough for all her clothes. When she admired the sunflower, Hajime told her she could have it. Xiaohei explained that, in the language of flowers, sunflowers mean, "I only have eyes for you." Reiko, unaware of the meaning, got flustered and took her away to show apartments. But Xiaohei didn't like any of them, especially those outside the city. Just then, Hajime called, saying he had the perfect apartment. Xiaohei loved it despite its small size. It had enough closet space, and the rooftop had a beautiful sunflower garden, which created a little awkwardness. Later, Reiko dropped a coin while buying juice, and a strange masked man helped her before vanishing. That same day, Miyuki's maids gossiped that he was the son of the former owner's mistress, meaning he was adopted. The boy in the mansion's portraits wasn't Miyuki. Meanwhile, the masked man was seen on Miyuki's bed talking about Reiko, showing he was deeply interested in her story. Elsewhere, Hajime searched for an old friend, only to discover the places he remembered no longer existed. Even the city seemed to have changed. On the rooftop, Reiko encountered the masked man again, and discovered it was Tao. When she asked about her past, he said he knew Reiko Kujirai and her relationship with Hajime, but claimed he didn't know her, because the Reiko he knew no longer exists in this world. This shook Reiko to her core. Tao, though slightly sympathetic, was angry that someone was toying with his friend's emotions. When he left, Reiko was left more lost than ever, wondering if her life even belonged to her. Things worsened when she returned to work and saw the sunflower she had given Hajime had died. When she tried to throw it out, he coldly said he didn't like her, something Reiko already feared. Later, when her vision worsened, Hajime suggested she wear her glasses again, but she refused, saying she wasn't the same Reiko he once knew. Still, even without her memories, some things remained: her love for certain food, her affection for the fish tank, and most of all, her love for him. But Hajime disagreed. He believed she was simply experiencing an illusion, mistaking past feelings for present love. Reiko insisted her emotions were real. Yet before she could say more, she suddenly collapsed, bringing everything to a dramatic pause. Back in the past, we see Hajime and Reiko sharing a quiet dinner together. At this point in time, they were still in the early stages of their relationship, learning more about each other and growing closer. During the meal, Hajime brings up a rumor he heard. There were plans to demolish Kowloon. But Reiko quickly corrects him. She explains that the original Kowloon was already destroyed back in 1994. The Kowloon they live in now is a second version, one rebuilt after the fall of the original, though illegally. Reiko says that people rebuilt the city out of nostalgia, an emotional attachment so strong that it makes Kowloon almost impossible to erase from existence. As they walk home, Reiko becomes slightly dizzy, possibly from drinking, but that doesn't stop her bold spirit. In a spontaneous moment, she leans in and kisses Hajime. This becomes a significant memory, marking the couple's very first kiss. Back in the present, Hajime watches over Reiko after she suddenly fainted. He seems ready to open up about the Reiko he knew in the past, but Reiko, now regaining consciousness, tells him there's no need. She doesn't want to revisit that past anymore. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, Miyuki and Tao are wandering through the streets of Kowloon. Tao makes a strange and slightly disturbing comment. He warns Miyuki not to walk around the city alone. He's worried that he might run into his other self, a second version of him. Since the cloned version of Reiko developed feelings for Hajime, Tao believes his clone might develop feelings for Miyuki. As they explore further, they arrive at the back of a store where Tao used to work. But something feels off. Items are missing, and certain details don't match Tao's memory. It's as if this Kowloon isn't the same one he remembers. They even find a product on the shelf that, according to the packaging, is a new release. But in reality, that product had been launched 3 years ago by a pharmaceutical company. Though at first it seems like a normal oddity, after all, Kowloon is behind the times, things get more unsettling. Tao casually mentions that the new Reiko has the exact same mole as the original one. That revelation shocks Miyuki. Why? Because moles, being small genetic anomalies, aren't replicated in clones. That means the new Reiko might not be a regular clone at all. We return to the protagonist's perspective. She shares with Yaomei the realization that she and Reiko B are not the same person. In fact, she's discovered that the real Reiko, Reiko B, had already died. After processing this painful truth, she makes a bold decision. She will no longer live as a copy. Instead, she will become her own definitive version of Reiko and live for herself, based on her own feelings. Yet, one question still haunts her. Who is she, really? If she isn't the real Reiko, was she created to live out Reiko's life? Is she a clone with someone else's memories and purpose? That disturbing idea begins to take root. Later, Yaomei tells her something she read online. Generic Terra, the company connected to all of this, might actually be a front for illegal clone research. After this emotional conversation, Reiko heads to work. Hajime, walking through the city, happens to spot her and Yaomei talking and quickly hides. He overhears Yaomei urging Reiko to move out of her apartment, arguing it's no longer safe. But Reiko refuses. She believes Reiko B's memories deserve to remain where they were made, in that apartment. It's her way of honoring the life that was lost. Later that evening, Reiko invites Hajime to Xiaohei's housewarming party. He initially refuses but gives them money to buy a gift. However, at the last moment, he decides to go anyway. At the party, Yaomei is clearly unhappy about his presence and once again pressures Reiko to move, but she still refuses to leave. After the party, Reiko and Hajime step outside to throw away the trash. They pause for a quiet moment, resting together. There's a lingering closeness, and they almost kiss, but Hajime pulls away. He doesn't go through with it, not because he's uncertain, but because he consciously chooses not to. In their conversation, when the topic of Generic Terra comes up again, Hajime's tone changes. He seems colder, more haunted. The next day, Hajime is spending his lunch break playing games with a few elderly folks in the city, but they soon realize that one man, Old Man Chan, is missing. We then cut to a mysterious room where Old Man Chan is actually with Miyuki and Tao. What's shocking is that a clone of the old man has just arrived in Kowloon. And in that very moment, the original Old Man Chan mysteriously disappears, right in front of them. Even Miyuki didn't expect that to happen. But it becomes undeniable proof for Tao. There isn't a second version of himself in the city. Clones can't coexist with their originals. But there's more. Miyuki's intentions start to come to light. He seems to want to replace Hajime himself. He also asks a chilling question. What really happened to Reiko? Back with Reiko and Hajime, as they finish their workday, she mentions that she had met with Tao a few days earlier. Hajime listens, then finally opens up. In a heavy, emotional confession, he reveals the truth he's been carrying all along. He was the one who killed Kujirai Reiko. Reiko is left unsettled after Hajime jokingly claims he killed the real Reiko, though he quickly dismisses it as a joke. However, his cryptic remark that the original Reiko no longer exists sticks with her. Seeking answers, Reiko visits Yaomei, who seriously believes Hajime may have actually murdered his fiancée. Though Reiko is unwilling to accept this, she can't shake the haunting expression Hajime had, which she had seen before when he noticed her earrings. Reiko's curiosity leads her to explore the real Reiko's belongings, where she discovers mystery novels and experiences strange flashes of memories. A hidden diamond ring among the books adds to her discomfort, which is further amplified when an earthquake shakes the area. The following day, Reiko and Hajime both appear sleep-deprived. She convinces him to take her to a bookstore to find more of the missing books, with Yaomei reluctantly tagging along. They reach the store, only for Reiko to find a misprinted volume. However, a book called How to See the World catches her attention, and Hajime reacts oddly, recalling how the real Reiko had no interest in traveling. Despite his protests, Yaomei urges Reiko to buy it. At a cafe, Reiko shares her disappointment with Yaomei, explaining her desire to learn more about the real Reiko. Yao Mei questions her motives, calling them greedy, but Reiko defends her actions as a genuine attempt to understand. Meanwhile, in a mansion, Miyuki bids farewell to Tao, who observes how Miyuki has become friendlier since Tao arrived. Later, Miyuki appears on a TV segment about beauty treatments, where he expresses a deeper, more introspective view on true transformation, which clashes with Sean, who insults him. This exchange raises tensions, but a commercial break diffuses the moment. Tao watches the broadcast, contemplating Miyuki's changing perspective. As Reiko, Hajime, and Yao Mei continue to watch the TV segment, Reiko wonders if Miyuki's message about losing oneself in the pursuit of a life imposed on you was aimed at her and the real Reiko. Afterward, they receive a flyer for a play, The Butterfly Dream. Yao Mei is visibly shaken to see that the lead actress is her controlling mother. Although Reiko invites Yao Mei to the play, she declines, her face clouded with discomfort. Reiko attends the play alone, and later, she eagerly recounts it to Yao Mei. However, Yao Mei accuses Reiko of being too obsessed with uncovering the real Reiko's life and not understanding the risks involved. Yao Mei feels that Reiko can't relate to her struggles, as she has no painful past of her own. Reiko, confused, tries reaching out to Yao Mei the next day but gets no response. This makes Reiko realize that she doesn't fully understand Yao Mei's pain, having never experienced loss. Over lunch with Hajime, Reiko wonders what she can offer someone like Yao Mei, who has endured much more. Hajime suggests that Reiko stop overthinking and talk to Yao Mei directly. Following his advice, Reiko visits Yao Mei with her favorite comfort food, egg tarts. Yao Mei initially refuses to open the door, but after hearing Reiko's heartfelt words, she eventually opens up. Reiko tells Yao Mei that, even if she feels her persona is a mask, the effort to improve and be true to herself is real. Yao Mei, moved by this, embraces Reiko and admits that she will now live as her true self. Later, the two head to a jewelry shop, where Yao Mei picks out a peach-colored item. Reiko's attention shifts when she notices Hajime standing outside. She realizes that it's him she wants. Meanwhile, Miyuki, in the back seat of his car, reflects quietly on the events, interrupted by a sharp phone call from his father about the TV incident. Hajime dreams of the first time he took the real Reiko to the Goldfish Tea House, recalling how they shared a simple moment. However, the memory fades as an earthquake jolts him awake, his frustration palpable. Just then, Kowloon is shaken by another earthquake, intensifying the uncertainty. Meanwhile, Tao, despite warnings about Kowloon's desolate state, enters the area, undeterred by its eerie and deserted surroundings. Miyuki visits his stern father, who disapproves of his actions and warns him to behave like a proper Hebanuma, not someone vulgar. The father questions Miyuki about the Generic Terra and Zirconian project, hinting that he's aware of Miyuki's secret plans and orthodox clones. The mood is tense, with implied threats if Miyuki's plans fail. Afterward, Miyuki returns home, where Tao warmly welcomes him. Miyuki shows emotional vulnerability, resting on Tao's shoulder. But the next morning, Tao confronts Miyuki harshly about his family issues and pleads with him not to ruin his future out of revenge. When Tao expresses his love and kisses Miyuki, the moment turns violent as he bites him to make him remember the pain. Miyuki, hurt and shaken, tells Tao to leave. Tao walks out, but not before confessing his love. The story shifts to the past at the Goldfish Tea House, where Hajime talks with the real Reiko about her love for goldfish and her fear of being tied down. They discuss a book sequel, but Reiko refuses to read it, fearing it might ruin what's perfect now. Talk of Kowloon's demolition arises, and plans for everyone's future are uncertain. Later, Tao meets Yao Mei while working. She recognizes him as someone described by Reiko and introduces herself. In a cafe, Reiko, Tao, and Yao Mei discuss their identities. Reiko realizes she's a clone, and Tao explains that while there's a second version of him, he's not a clone, he believes he's the real one. Reiko brings up the death of the original Reiko, claiming Kudo confessed to the murder, but Tao denies it, saying they were engaged and that Kudo wouldn't do that. He warns her that learning the truth could mean facing the same fate. Reiko insists her feelings are her own, not inherited. Later, Tao chats with Yao Mei and realizes she's changed since moving to Kowloon. She reveals that she once looked different but reverted to her original self with Reiko's help. Tao believes her, relating her experience to his own split identity. Yao Mei explains the concept of the absolute self. It's about believing in yourself completely, from the clothes and shoes you wear to the food you eat and the words you speak. She says people often tell small lies to themselves to fit in, but doing that for too long creates a fake version of who they are. However, if you stop pretending and start living by what your heart truly wants, you can become your absolute self. Even if she ends up regretting it, Yao Mei would rather be the real her than live as a fake. Hearing this, Gwen remembers Miyuki saying, "I will decide what I live for," and wonders if he, too, was seeking his absolute self. Curious about others who might have second versions of themselves, Yaomei brings up Kudo and urges Tao to meet him. Tao agrees and quietly thinks, Kudo is real, who could have done something so cruel? Later, Kudo watches Miyuki talking about immortality through memory. Miyuki explains that Generic Terra can restore someone's identity even if their body is lost, because memories matter more than the physical form. Meanwhile, Reiko eats Kudo's saved cup noodles, leading to a humorous argument. But her words about wrinkles being proof of life strike Kudo deeply, reminding him of what it means to be human. Reiko smiles, realizing, wow, I've turned into me. But Kudo? He's still stuck, haunted by his fiancée's death, avoiding change, and working alongside someone with her exact face. What do his days look like? Elsewhere, Miyuki visits Dr. Wong to ask if he can get pregnant. The doctor confirms it's not possible, even through in vitro fertilization. When Yulong appears, Miyuki reveals that the doctor opposes the Generic Terra project. The doctor warns against using it for revenge, but Miyuki intends to resurrect his father's son, without any of the original memories. Just a body, a voice, a shell. Get his hopes up and kick him down to hell, Miyuki says coldly. Yulong, amused, doesn't stop him. After all, Generic Terra isn't just about people, it even replicated the lost walled city of Kowloon. And understanding how that works may be the key to moving forward. Yulong points out a strange phenomenon. While some people can see the restored Kowloon, others can't. Frustrated, he wonders, that's not fair. We both grew up there. What's the condition? Miyuki agrees, saying even Tao, who didn't live there as long, can see it, though he says the current Kowloon looks different from his memories. Yulong speculates that what Tao sees might differ from what's stored in his excess memory. Then he brings up a current Kowloon resident, Yaomei. Miyuki doesn't recognize her face, suspecting plastic surgery, but Yulong confirms her identity using medical records. Miyuki is surprised a real, living person like her would choose to stay in a place like Kowloon. Yulong explains that she disappeared from the public eye and likely knew nothing about Kowloon beforehand, proving that even people with no prior connection can see it. That realization forces them to widen their thinking. Yulong suggests that the massive energy concentrated in Hong Kong, and especially Kowloon, might have reacted with Generic Terra and somehow materialized a phantom version of the second Kowloon. Only those who resonate with it can perceive it. But what are they resonating with? Miyuki questions the logic. What would I be resonating with? Yulong admits he doesn't know. He compares it to Miyuki's own Generic Terra pitch, offering people what they want to see. But that logic doesn't hold. Yulong wants to see Kowloon too but can't. And people who never knew Kowloon can see it. They conclude that Kowloon itself isn't the common factor. It was triggered by some unknown resonance, and who sees it remains a mystery. Miyuki decides to investigate on his own, telling Yulong to continue his work on Generic Terra. As he leaves, he meets Yulong's odd-looking new assistant. Yulong tells him to stay alert, and to warn Miyuki not to get swallowed up by Kowloon. Elsewhere, Kudo and Reiko visit a supermarket. Reiko sees a travel book and wonders if Yaomei might join her on a trip. Kudo hears and asks if she's seriously thinking of traveling. She says she's tired of knowing only Kowloon. She wants to see the world, eat different food, maybe even move elsewhere. But as she says this, she grows emotional. In your nostalgic, unchanging days, the only fake thing is me. Reiko tells Kudo that maybe it's better if she leaves. Her face, identical to his late fiancée's, is keeping him from moving on. But Kudo grabs her and says, don't go anywhere. Stay by me. Always. Suddenly, an explosion rocks the area. A shelf of cup noodles crashes down. Outside, they see smoke rising from Saihing Tower. Kudo tells Reiko to return to the office while he runs toward the chaos. In the past, Hajime prepares to propose to Reiko sooner than planned, fearing Kowloon's looming disappearance. He discusses it first with Gwen, who questions whether Hajime truly understands Reiko. Although unsure, Hajime is driven by a desire to create unforgettable memories for her. Gwen, moved by his sincerity, supports the proposal. In the present, Hajime surveys the burned ruins of a tower. There, he reunites with Gwen, who warns him to leave Kowloon while he still can. Hajime refuses, revealing Reiko is still there. Gwen confesses he stayed not just out of concern, but because someone special is here too. Hajime encourages him to escape with that person, but Gwen insists on staying by Hajime's side. Meanwhile, Miyuki, while exploring Kowloon, collapses and drifts into a dream from the past. He recalls his first encounter with Gwen in a bar, where vulnerability leads to unexpected intimacy. Despite Miyuki's intersex identity, Gwen fully accepts him, reinforcing a deep emotional bond between them. Miyuki wakes up in a burlesque club after being found unconscious. There, He meets Reiko and brings her to the clinic, where they discuss the Zirconians and her identity. Reiko, calm and self-aware, claims she isn't the real Reiko and doesn't want to be. She's creating her own life. Miyuki, moved, begins to understand that even without past memories, Reiko wants to be seen and accepted as her true self. The next morning, despite promising to move out, Reiko delays, the weight of the past still heavy. Yaomei, though frustrated, understands, it's a day of remembrance, after all. Yaomei insists on changing Reiko's room layout and suggests moving her bed for a fresh look. Reiko expresses a desire for patterned curtains, and Yaomei lights up, offering to sew them herself. Excited, she even suggests they go shopping for fabric in Hong Kong and plan to have dinner there afterward. Meanwhile, Gwen is in his apartment, poking at a pack of instant food. He sighs, craving something real but knowing how risky food in Kowloon can be. Resigned, he decides to order online. Coincidentally, as Yaomei and Reiko prepare to leave Kowloon, they run into Gwen, who's there to pick up a pizza order. Gwen calls out to the delivery man, who looks relieved, worried the order might have been a prank. The man casually remarks that theirs is the only service still delivering to these abandoned ruins. Yaomei immediately snaps at him, defending Kowloon as a livable place. The delivery man shrugs, saying it's technically illegal to live there since Kowloon was demolished. Reiko tries to ask more, but the man quickly brushes past her, clearly uncomfortable. After he leaves, Gwen quietly explains, the delivery man couldn't see Reiko at all. In fact, he couldn't see Kowloon or anyone living there. Gwen urges Yaomei to look up Kowloon's history. It was demolished 3 years ago. Reiko realizes the man ignored her completely, confirming Gwen's claim. Gwen explains that only certain people, like him and Yaomei, can see and enter this version of Kowloon. But those originally from this place, like Reiko, are invisible to the outside world. This triggers a memory. Hajime once begged Reiko never to leave him or Kowloon. Now she understands why. Though Yaomei tries to dismiss it all as ridiculous, Reiko silently accepts the truth. Maybe Hajime was right. She must stay in Kowloon. Yaomei refuses to believe Reiko isn't real, but Tao explains that in Kowloon, duplicates of people, including himself, have appeared. He proves two versions can't coexist, but since the real Reiko died long ago, this Reiko might be a unique case, which terrifies her. Determined to uncover the truth, Yaomei leaves for Hong Kong. Reiko is left confused, and Tao offers his support. Hajime finds Reiko wandering and invites her to eat dumplings. He remembers the real Reiko, her charm, and how he fell in love trying to help her sleep. Meanwhile, Miyuki learns from Yulong that the real Reiko died from an intentional overdose of strong sleeping pills prescribed in suspicious doses. The records were wiped, likely by Miyuki's own corrupt father, who erased his identity by demolishing Kowloon. A masked man identical to Xiaohei is seen spying on Hajime, Reiko, and others, reporting to Miyuki's father. Then Hajime comforts the emotionally shaken Reiko with a silent embrace, promising to stay by her side no matter how fragile or strange the world around them becomes. Yaomei rides a train to Hong Kong, reflecting on her 6-month escape after plastic surgery. She found acceptance in Kowloon, especially from Reiko, who inspired her to embrace her true self. But her card is declined upon arrival. Kowloon money has no value outside. Tao offers financial help without hesitation, surprising her. In Hong Kong, Yaomei searches for answers about Kowloon. Locals all insist it was demolished years ago. Overwhelmed, she breaks down. An old man confirms the demolition and hints the Hebanuma group may have covered something up. Taking his advice, she finds an internet cafe and contacts an anonymous forum poster, actually Yulong, who's investigating Kowloon too. As they share discoveries, Yaomei reveals strange phenomena, duplicates, dead people alive, and that Kowloon is stuck in a summer that never changes. Yulong hints something is hidden in Kowloon and urges her to return. As Yaomei steps outside the internet cafe, she bumps into a man Yulong, who uses the computer right beside hers. She doesn't realize he's the same person she's been chatting with online. The next morning Reiko lies in bed naked beside Hajime. A message from Yaomei lights up her phone asking to meet. Reiko quietly slips out from under the sheets, eager to see her friend. As she moves to leave, Hajime reaches out, pulls her close and kisses her on the lips before letting her go.
Hajime had a flashback once again about the real Reiko. One day, he brought them hot coffee, but the cafe had accidentally added sugar when it was meant to be plain. Despite this, Reiko smiled and invited Hajime back to her house to cook French toast. They cooked together, Reiko taking the lead as if she were a master in the kitchen. The French toast turned out perfect, golden, with crisp edges and just the right sweetness. During that quiet moment, Reiko opened up about her parents. The French toast was her late mother's recipe. Both her parents had died in an accident years ago. Remembering them through things like this recipe didn't make her sad. Hajime thought she was strong for that. But in truth, it was the opposite. Reiko was the kind of person who refused to read the second volume of a book. Hajime didn't understand what that meant. The kettle had started to whistle, cutting her off before she could say more, and Reiko never finished explaining. Now, back in the present, Hajime sits quietly on the steps of a staircase, a soda in hand, unable to shake off the lingering ghost of the real Reiko. No matter how much he tries, he keeps comparing her to the Reiko he sees now. Later that day, Reiko meets Yaomei and Tao at a cafe. Her aura is noticeably brighter, and a wide, cheerful smile spreads across her face, leaving both Yaomei and Tao staring at her in stunned confusion. Reiko bubbles with excitement, eager to share what transpired between her and Hajime. But she chooses to keep it to herself, for the time being. Still, the mood remains light as Yaomei shifts the conversation, recounting everything that unfolded during her time in Hong Kong. True enough, everyone in Hong Kong seems to believe that the second walled Kowloon has long been demolished. However, a single online user appears to share the same mission as Yaomei, to prove Kowloon's existence. Yaomei opens her mouth to speak, but the waitress arrives, delivering their drinks and interrupting the moment. Yaomei eyes her drink with hesitation. Noticing this, Reiko immediately suspects it might be because the drink isn't real. Tao, sitting beside them quietly, agrees. Despite the doubts, Yaomei chooses to believe. She lifts the glass and drinks it all in a single gulp. However, when Yaomei finishes the drink, something strange happens. She seems to forget everything she was about to say about Kowloon. A blank look crosses her face, and for a moment, she appears lost in thought, unable to recall her earlier excitement. The atmosphere shifts awkwardly, before they laugh it off, brushing it aside. But Tao remains quiet, too stunned to speak, already piecing together what might be happening to Yaomei. Elsewhere, in his secret room, Yulong receives a sudden message from Yaomei, informing him that she has safely returned to Kowloon. Curious, he asks about the summer phenomenon she previously mentioned, but to his surprise, Yaomei seems to have no memory of it at all. At that moment, Yulong understands. Yaomei has already been swallowed up by Kowloon. He expected this possibility, so he merely chuckles to himself. Though, he's still wondering what might have caused it. As Yulong suspected, it must have come from the food. But more than that, it's the act of consuming something, despite sensing it might be off. Perhaps the desire to believe in Kowloon is what allows it to swallow someone entirely. Meanwhile, in one of Kowloon's street stores, Miyuki is about to purchase a basket of goods when the store owner informs him they no longer accept electronic payments due to the collapse. Unfortunately, Miyuki doesn't have any cash. The owner, unwilling to cancel the transaction, grows increasingly irritable. Just as the tension rises, Tao arrives and voluntarily pays for everything, without saying a word. Miyuki exits the store abruptly, clearly avoiding any interaction with Tao. He tries to blend into the crowd, walking forward as if nothing happened. But Tao catches up quickly, prompting Miyuki to speed up, denying every attempt at conversation. Then, without hesitation, Miyuki kicks a stack of logs, halting his pursuit. Just before disappearing completely, Tao manages to shout a warning, not to consume anything in Kowloon, and reminds him that Hajime is real. But Miyuki already knows that. No matter how loud Tao calls out, Miyuki doesn't look back. He walks deeper into the alley. As he rounds a familiar corner, he slows down. Something about the path feels familiar. Looking closer, he realizes where he is. It's the narrow street leading to Dr. Wong's clinic. Meanwhile, Yulong remains in his secret room, staring at the photos and information of both Reiko and Hajime. He reflects on the idea of being trapped in a path that no longer exists, just like Kowloon. At the same time, Miyuki reaches for the door to Dr. Wong's clinic when his phone suddenly rings. It's Yulong. He instantly questions why Miyuki is in Kowloon, when he should be in Hong Kong. The question snaps Miyuki out of his trance. And after a moment of silence, he turns around, deciding to leave and head back. That afternoon, Reiko brings lunch to Yomei's place, where she is busy stitching up dresses. Over the meal, Reiko shares everything, how she and Hajime are now officially together. Yaomei beams with joy, truly happy for her friend. Their conversation is interrupted when a maintenance man arrives to inspect the fire alarm. It's the male version of Xiaohei. While scanning the room, he can't help but admire the dresses Yaomei has made. Reiko, curious, asks which one he likes most. The question catches him off guard. He's a man, after all. But he ends up describing his favorite style in stunning detail. The answer leaves both Reiko and Yaomei quietly stunned. As it turns out, he used to wear dresses like that when he had a slimmer figure in his younger years. But now, with his current build, he feels those days are behind him. Still, liking something doesn't have to end just because you've changed. Before the inspection begins, Yaomei gently asks Xiaohei to take off his vest. She wants to repair it for him. Now alone in his apartment, Tao grows increasingly frustrated after his latest encounter with Miyuki. But his thoughts soon drift to Yaomei and what she experienced the day before. It was unsettling. While it's true that consuming food in Kowloon might affect one's memory or mind, that effect never seemed to apply to Hajime, who has lived there for quite some time and appears completely sane. This inconsistency troubles Tao. Determined to investigate further, he packs ready-made food into his backpack and sets off to visit Hajime, this time keeping his guard up. Meanwhile, Xiaohei reflects deeply on his recent encounter with Reiko. She's nothing like the Reiko he once knew. It's as if she's truly living her own life now, detached from her past. Unexpectedly, Xiaohei finds that people in Kowloon live more honestly, more raw and real, than he ever imagined. Even Yaomei, who stylishly repaired his vest without a word, has quietly earned his trust. Slowly, Xiaohei begins to understand. In Kowloon, the things a person fears to lose don't disappear, they grow, one by one. Xiaohei promptly reports his findings to his master. As a former resident of Kowloon, he finds the replicas impressively accurate. Yet, notable inconsistencies exist, not just in structures and lifestyle, but in the residents themselves. Reiko is a prime example. Though she looks and sounds like the original Reiko, her personality and behavior are distinctly different, suggesting she has developed a self of her own. These inconsistencies attract Miyuki's attention too, reinforcing Xiaohei's hypothesis. The Zirconian project might succeed in replicating deceased individuals, but only within the generic boundary of Kowloon. Miyuki once proved that when both a real and replica version of a person exist in the same space, the replica inevitably vanishes. Two versions cannot coexist. This raises a critical question. Does the rule still apply if the original person has already died? Xiaohei doesn't yet have an answer. Reiko is an important subject in the project, so Miyuki is unlikely to risk her. But Xiaohei's master insists, if no other case can be found, Reiko must be used. Xiaohei hesitates. The people of Kowloon, replicas or not, are living lives of their own. But his master doesn't care. He ends the call abruptly, leaving Xiaohei conflicted. Elsewhere, Yulong confronts his own doubts. Speaking with Miyuki in a secret room, he confesses the weight of his choices. Being part of the Habinuma family led him here, down a path he might one day regret. Dr. Wong, too, is concerned. But Miyuki brushes them off. With a cold glare, he silences Yulong, telling him to just do his job, then leaves for lunch with Dr. Wong. As the door closes, Yulong realizes what he feared. Miyuki is now dangerously obsessed with Kowloon. But unlike Miyuki, Yulong quietly vows to walk a path he won't regret. Even during lunch, Miyuki is distracted by Yulong's words. His thoughts drift. What if he had never contacted Habinuma? What if he had never left his mother behind? What if he had chosen Tao? Meanwhile, at her home, Reiko is hanging laundry when the doorbell rings. It's Hajime. She welcomes him in with a bright smile. As Hajime steps inside, his eyes subtly search for traces of the real Reiko. On the veranda, Reiko casually mentions sugar sticks she pairs with coffee, stirring a memory in Hajime. On impulse, he suggests making French toast. But to his surprise, this Reiko doesn't know how. Though she tries enthusiastically, she still can't figure it out. When she asks Hajime for help, his mood abruptly shifts. He excuses himself and leaves, clearly avoiding a deeper connection. Reiko is left troubled. Lying in bed, she wonders where things went wrong. Hajime once promised to never leave her, so why does he remain so distant? Maybe, he hasn't let go of the real Reiko. Determined, Reiko opens a box containing the real Reiko's belongings. She picks up a pair of glasses and tries them on. Suddenly, a flash of memory hits her. Alarmed, she throws them to the floor. Back at Yulong's residence, Xiaohei enters to clean his room. But Yulong confronts him immediately. He's found the hidden listening device under the table. Xiaohei tries to play dumb, but Yulong isn't fooled. He points to Xiaohei's ear piercing. That's how he's been eavesdropping. Cutting to the chase, Yulong makes an offer, join his side. In return, Yulong will protect him from the Habinuma and offer better pay. But there's one condition, Xiaohei must eliminate the generic Reiko.
In the past, Hajime is seen playing mahjong with a group of elderly men. One of them mentions that someone skipped town up north, and another adds that it was by Yuanshan Tower, a place known for danger danger even in Kowloon. With gambling, prostitution, and drugs all around, he warns that anyone wanting to avoid trouble should stay far away from that area. Hajime responds that he got pulled in at the very last minute, and he's not looking forward to going and apologizing to the landlord. Meanwhile, Reiko is already doing just that. She bows slightly and says, "We're very sorry. Our lack of management caused you this trouble." The landlord, calm and understanding, replies that it's all right. She figures the tenants probably left during the chaos of the demolition. Reiko then hands her a small gift and says she hopes she likes it. Accepting the gift, the landlord remarks that this neighborhood is full of people with nowhere else to go. For someone to run from here, she says, is a huge gamble. Reiko, surprised, asks if skipping town really counts as a gamble. The landlord replies that sometimes, running is the winning move, going all in, even if it means betraying those who looked out for you. She admits she's not a gambler herself, but finds that kind of courage admirable. Reiko responds, "You're generous." Just then, the landlord's cat arrives, and she feeds it a piece of dried chicken tender. She looks back at Reiko and says she's heard she's good at mahjong. Reiko humbly replies, "I manage." The landlord smiles and adds, "They say you never lose. Do you think you'll win the game of life?" Reiko calmly answers, "I suppose we'll find out." Later, on the way back, Hajime runs up to Reiko in frustration. She asks what's wrong, and he tells her the branch manager said she went to see the landlord. Reiko explains that she's known the landlord longer than he has, but Hajime, clearly upset, cuts her off. He tells her that's not the point. The area is dangerous. He insists he'll handle things around there, and warns her never to come alone again. "Let's go," he says firmly. Reiko says nothing and quietly stares at the wall. In the present, Xiaohei sits alone on the stairs, head down, torn by the impossible choice he's been given. Yulong has offered him a job, eliminate the generic version of Reiko in exchange for protection and money. But despite everything, Xiaohei can't bring himself to do it. There's something undeniably real about Reiko, something genuine that breaks through even if she's technically a copy. Even as Yulong raises the reward, Xiaohei refuses. Yulong, ever manipulative, tries a new approach. He shows Xiaohei an old photograph, one where he used to look just like generic Xiaohei, youthful and sharply dressed. Xiaohei tells him that he abandoned that version of himself when it stopped fitting him. More shockingly, Yulong seems aware that Xiaohei may have met a generic version of himself in Kowloon already, something that should be impossible, unless Xiaohei is different. Yulong proposes another offer. Using Generic Terra, Xiaohei can become the version of himself he used to be, the one he lost. While this plays out, Yaomei is daydreaming about romance as she strolls through the streets, ice cream in hand, until she bumps into Xiaohei. He looks deeply troubled and barely responds to her attempts to talk. She notices he's still wearing the vest she made for him. But before he can say anything, the generic version of Xiaohei rushes past. The shock hits him like a wave, and panic sets in. He throws away Yaomei's ice cream and warns her not to eat anything, finally making a quiet decision. He'll never do anything that might hurt her. Meanwhile, Reiko, shaken by strange visions from a pair of glasses she found, calls Yaomei in distress. The glasses appear to be showing someone else's memories. Yaomei tries them on but sees nothing. When Reiko wears them again, fragmented visions reappear, many featuring Hajime. It becomes clear that the glasses are offering a glimpse into the real Reiko's past. Later, at their office, Reiko notices Hajime hasn't returned from his rounds. On the veranda, she puts on the glasses again, just as Hajime appears. Through the lenses, she sees a version of him smiling warmly, while in reality, he looks tired and indifferent. When he casually asks if she wants lunch, she declines. Left alone, she realizes something powerful. Hajime has sides of himself only the real Reiko ever saw, just as she now sees sides of him that are hidden from others. That night, determined to uncover the truth, Reiko and Yaomei head to the infamous Yuan Shan Tower, a place covered in talisman stickers and rumored to be dangerous. Reiko finds a sticker with the cryptic message, 403 forbidden, which only deepens the mystery. The next day, they meet with Tao, hoping for answers about the real Reiko. Tao admits he never truly trusted the real Reiko. To him, she was distant, unpredictable, and carried a dark energy. He regrets not supporting Hajime more, but he doesn't grieve her. Reiko wonders if the real Reiko took her own life, but Yaomei isn't convinced. She remembers how happy the real Reiko was being engaged to Hajime. Still, Tao reveals a painful truth. Even though Reiko is different, just her existence, her identical face and voice, might be hurting Hajime more than he shows. Suddenly, Xiaohei walks into the cafe for a supposed fire inspection. But when he locks eyes with Tao, he freezes. They clearly recognize each other. Tao says nothing but later confronts Xiaohei in an alley, demanding to know why he's back in Kowloon. Strangely, a generic version of Xiaohei walks past them, and doesn't vanish like it should. This defies everything they know. Xiaohei avoids answering and disappears into the city once more. Back in office, Reiko reflects. She lights a cigarette and thinks about the sticker message, 403 forbidden. That's a common error code, meaning she isn't allowed to access the truth. Hajime soon joins her, and as they smoke together, she realizes things have been strange ever since they spent the night together. She won't deny her feelings, but she also doesn't want to hurt him. So she decides, it's best they go back to being colleagues. Reinvigorated, Reiko throws herself into her work, and her search for the truth. She finds more talisman stickers around the city. Some are blank, many say, 403, but one says, 202 accepted, a code meaning a request has been accepted, but the process hasn't completed. Her investigation leads her to a smoking area shown in the glass's vision, where she finds another chilling sticker, do not look anymore. Meanwhile, Yao Mei, exhausted from work, tries to ignore a nagging feeling, like she's forgotten something important. Reaching into her bag, she eats a candy Yulong gave her long ago in Hong Kong. The moment it touches her tongue, a wave of memories rushes back, unlocking something that could change everything. Then we see Yulong reflecting on what it truly means to see Kowloon. He wonders if it requires a deep emotional attachment. But Yao Mei complicates that idea. Her connection doesn't seem to be with the city itself. So what kind of attachment is really needed? So far, only a few characters can see the generic version of Kowloon: Hajime, Yao Mei, Miyuki, and Tao. Each of them carries emotional baggage. For Miyuki, Kowloon wasn't just a place, it held warmth, meaning, and something irreplaceable. Yulong, by contrast, admits that while he liked Kowloon, he also enjoys his present life. He doesn't feel deeply tied to the past. Perhaps that emotional detachment is why his bond with Kowloon is weak. Then there's Hajime Kudo. He left his real estate job 3 years ago and hasn't returned to Japan since. Back then, his fiancée was still alive. That lingering emotional weight ties him to that time, and might explain why he can still see Kowloon. Xiaohei likely falls into this category too. Later, Yulong informs Dr. Wong that he's going somewhere. Sensing something, Dr. Wong asks if it's about the generic Kowloon. Yulong, startled, doesn't respond and quickly walks away. He arrives at the ruins of the old Kowloon. Standing among the wreckage, memories come rushing back, especially the moment Miyuki revealed he was being adopted by the Hebanuma family. In that moment, Miyuki also unveils a shocking tattoo, a snake coiled across his body. When Yulong asks if it's real, Miyuki calmly says yes, explaining he insisted on getting it to prove his loyalty. He then shows his split tongue, done in front of someone as part of a deal for his mother's treatment. A small price, he says. Yulong praises Miyuki's devotion and wounds his own ear in solidarity. But soon after, tragedy strikes. Miyuki's mother dies. Devastated, he cries that he would have never left her side had he known, and vows revenge. He pleads for Yulong's help. Yulong reflects, the first time he saw something unusual, it came from flames of anger. The second, from a home that no longer exists. He now realizes he must act before Miyuki loses himself in hatred. He questions his own choices. Did I do the right thing? But then, a breeze brushes past him. And in that moment of clarity, he understands, the emotion that reveals generic Kowloon isn't attachment, it's regret. And just like that, Kowloon appears before his eyes. Elsewhere, Yao Mei sits with Tao. She remembers what happened in Hong Kong. Everyone she asked said the second Kowloon Walled City had disappeared. She went to prove Reiko's existence, but Tao says all she proved was the opposite. Tearfully, Yao Mei insists that's not certain, reminding him he doesn't know everything about this place. Tao admits he doesn't feel a connection to this Kowloon like she does, which is why he tells her to leave. When she asks why, he answers gently, because you're real. You, Miyuki, even Kudo, you don't belong in a place that doesn't exist. She asks about Reiko. Tao recalls her saying she wants to live as her absolute self. Yao Mei explains it was Reiko who inspired her. Tao agrees, doing something for someone you love isn't wrong, but warns her not to lose sight of what she truly wants. Yao Mei turns the question back on him. Isn't he acting for someone else too? Tao admits he's here for himself now, even if it's selfish. He just doesn't want to live with regret. Yao Mei then shares a rumor from Hong Kong. The Hebanuma group orchestrated the second Kowloon's demolition to hide something. The The truth may be hidden in talismans scattered across the city. Tao says he knew about the talismans, but not Habanuma's involvement, and warns her to stay away. They're dangerous. She also mentions something strange: it's always summer in this Kowloon. Tao agrees, a summer that never ends, and never moves on. As she walks back, Yaomei begins to question, how much should she even tell Reiko? Deep down, she starts to feel Tao was right. Solving mysteries, chasing truth, none of it was truly part of her life. But that chance encounter with Reiko gave her a decision, to live as her absolute self. Then she sees a poster, Butterfly Dream Revival Screening, a film she once worked on with her mother. The sight stirs old memories, reminding her just how deeply her identity is shaped by her past. Meanwhile, Reiko looks through the glasses connected to the real Reiko's vision, and what she sees is unsettling: real Reiko buying medicine. She immediately calls Yaomei. I think she's in the northern area. That's also where Kujirai left a talisman. I'm going back, one last time. Yaomei warns her it's dangerous, but Reiko is firm. I'm close to the truth, she says. Yaomei, moved, decides to go too. At the same time, Xiaohei sits alone, remembering Yulong's words, that he could return to his original self if he kills the fake Kujirai Reiko. But Xiaohei can't do it. No way, he mutters. Just then, Reiko happens to pass by. She spots him sitting there and approaches with concern, asking what's wrong. Before Xiaohei can say anything, her phone rings. It's the other Xiaohei, panicking about a buzzing device on the ceiling. Reiko wonders if it's a fire alarm and recalls that Xiaohei, the one next to her, also fixes alarms. She smirks. Xiaohei starts sweating. Without delay, she grabs his wrist and drags him toward the apartment. On the way, Yaomei calls. Reiko updates her. She's heading to Xiaohei's place and it's urgent. Yaomei agrees to meet them there. At the Goldfish Tea House, Tao talks with Hajime. He asks, how much do you know about this Kowloon? Hajime replies, like how the original and generic can't exist at the same time? Surprised, Tao asks, you knew? Hajime nods. He saw Old Man Chung, an original, enter Kowloon, and the fake vanished. He thinks the same happened with Mr. Chan and the server Tao knew. Then Tao asks, you remember the second Kowloon being demolished? Hajime scoffs, how could I forget? Tao admits, he doesn't know everything. He once built a hut for stray cats behind the tea house, but it doesn't exist in this Kowloon. Hajime is surprised. I didn't know you did that. Back at Xiaohei's, the alarm is fixed by the other Xiaohei. Reiko smiles and introduces them. The two Xiaoheis talk briefly, but when Yaomei teases him about his taste in clothes, Xiaohei begins to cry. Looking at my past used to hurt, but now, I just feel happy. Later, as Tao and Hajime leave, Tao mentions one last puzzle. The original Xiaohei is here, but the fake hasn't vanished. Hajime is confused. Wait, his fake? Xiaohei is a girl. Tao pauses. We never told you. Xiaohei is a guy. Stunned, Hajime says, seriously? Tao laughs, you didn't notice, so we never corrected you. Hajime walks off, flustered, but then Tao sees it, the cat shelter. It has appeared. In that instant, he understands everything about Kowloon, its replication, what it reflects, and what it erases. At the apartment, Xiaohei has vanished without a trace, and the other Xiaohei is left in shock. Trembling, he mutters, he found out about me, referring to Hajime. Overwhelmed, he collapses to the floor and loses consciousness. When he wakes, he tells Reiko and Yaomei, this Kowloon is Kudo's creation. It's based on how he remembers it. If something wasn't in his memory, it doesn't exist here. He explains that originals make replicas disappear. Since Kudo believed he was a girl, both Xiaoheis coexisted, until now. He confesses he was here for two reasons: to investigate Kowloon for a corporation, and to kill Reiko, to return to who he once was. The plan was to upload his memories into his own replica. Yaomei realizes the corporation is the Hebanuma group. She asks why he's confessing now. Because it won't happen anymore, he says. After meeting you both, I don't need this generic world. He hands back Yaomei's jacket and prepares to leave. They'll come after me, but I'll go as far as I can. Yaomei stops him. Take your clothes. Don't give up what you love. My mom's powerful. Hebanuma won't touch me. Want me to come with you? She tells Reiko she's sorry. I've been running from my past, but I want to change. I'll find my own absolute self, and come back. As they walk away, Yaomei tells Reiko, I'll be back in a few days. Then, serious now, she warns, the medicine Kujirai bought, it's linked to Hebanuma. Be careful. Xiaohei adds, this Kowloon comes from Kudo's mind, but you weren't part of his memory. That must mean something. Reiko nods. I'll become who I truly want to be. As they part ways, something strange happens. The dresses in Xiaohei's hands vanish. Yaomei panics, but Xiaohei smiles. smiles. It's okay. You taught me, life isn't just about loss. Love can survive in new forms. Then, they notice, the jacket Yao Mei designed hasn't vanished. Its colors remain vivid, a parting gift from the world they're leaving. But when they look back, Kowloon is gone. Not hidden, erased. Only rubble remains. And Reiko, still standing there, can no longer see them. Reiko sits alone in a cafe, wondering whether Yao Mei managed to talk to her mother. Elsewhere, Miyuki's father calls him, demanding to know his whereabouts. Miyuki replies that he is still in Hong Kong, which angers his father, who insists he should return home immediately. Later, Miyuki visits his father to apologize for the slow progress on the Zirconian project, explaining that he hasn't been able to provide a proper report. His father softens, admitting he should have been more considerate and acknowledging that Miyuki is an adult now. He offers to arrange a new residence for Miyuki, reminding him that he is the precious heir to the Hebanuma group, though mistakenly calling him Haran. Despite Miyuki's protests, his father continues with the plan and the butler soon interrupts, announcing dinner. As he leaves, the father again calls him Haran. Later, the family doctor informs Miyuki that his father is suffering from dementia, and the condition is expected to worsen quickly. Frustrated and angry, Miyuki smashes a vase. Meanwhile, in Kowloon, Yulong visits Kudo's office, only to find out from the manager that Kudo is away on business. As Yulong leaves, Miyuki calls him to share the news that his revenge is over. He explains that his father's dementia has changed everything. Yulong is surprised that Miyuki had doubts but kept quiet, especially since the father is now confusing him with his real son. Yulong suggests that if he had known, things could have been handled faster and questions whether Miyuki hid this on purpose. Miyuki denies it, but Yulong accuses him of getting emotionally caught up in nostalgic Kowloon. When asked what he plans to do next, Miyuki can only reply that he doesn't know, prompting Yulong to remark that with revenge off the table, only regret remains. At the same time, Tao tries calling Miyuki, but his calls keep getting redirected. Determined, Tao decides not to sit still and wait. Elsewhere, Yulong attempts to delete Generic Terra but finds himself unable to do so. Amused at his own failure, he reflects on how embarrassing it would be to admit he can't even delete something he created. Examining the unresponsive system, he theorizes why it hasn't disappeared and decides to call Xiaohei. Instead, Yao Mei answers the call, furious and protective of Xiaohei. She warns Yulong to leave Xiaohei and Reiko alone. Xiaohei tries to calm her, but Yao Mei remains adamant. Yulong informs her that there's no longer any need to harm Reiko, mentioning the news about the Hebanuma group's chairman. He advises her to get the full details from Xiaohei. He then reveals a change in plans. The new target is now Hajime Kudo. After observing Kowloon firsthand, Yulong concludes that this is a replica constructed from Kudo's memories. He deduces this from the fact that the popular food in Kowloon dates back to the year it was demolished, meaning that the city's reappearance is tied to the regrets of someone who lived there, most likely Kudo. Yulong admits that Yao Mei unknowingly helped him confirm this theory. He thanks her and ends the call. Later, Yulong meets Reiko in the northern district. He introduces himself as Yao Mei's friend and offers to accompany her, warning that the area is dangerous. Reiko, wary of his presence since Yao Mei never mentioned a friend like him, is cautious. To ease her doubts, Yulong openly states that he is one of the developers of Generic Terra and knows a lot about the current state of Kowloon. He proposes that they walk and exchange information, to which Reiko agrees. As they walk, Yulong removes a talisman from a wall bearing a message to turn back. He asks if this is from Hajime Kudo, and Reiko confirms it is. Yulong wonders why Kudo would be threatening them, and Reiko explains it's likely because Kudo wants to hide the fact that Reiko had been buying drugs. Yulong reveals that this cold medicine, which caused strong hallucinations in large doses, had been discontinued after several deaths. Although the company halted distribution, some of the product still remained in Kowloon, and the government ultimately demolished the city to cover it up. Yulong explains that Generic Terra had initially been an empty shell incapable of outputting stored memories. The higher-ups, unwilling to give up, involved the Hebanuma group in further investigations, believing the product could still be salvaged. Yulong adds that time in Kowloon flows parallel to the outside world, though the season remains trapped in an endlessly repeating summer, something neither Reiko nor Yao Mei had noticed. They eventually reach the door where Reiko had once purchased drugs. Yulong repeats the ritual of passing money through the door to receive drugs. Afterward, Afterwards, he asks Reiko if she's ready to leave, though he admits he still needs her to die. He believes that if Reiko, someone irreplaceable to Kudo, dies, Kudo's attachment to Kowloon might finally end, causing the city to disappear. Reiko protests, asserting her individuality. She doesn't see herself as a tool for someone else's salvation and wishes to define her own existence, to save Kudo in her own way, proving she is not just a generic version of Reiko Kujirai but her own person. Yulong warns her that it's a gamble with uncertain outcomes. Reiko remains firm, saying that even if it's risky, she will not regret walking the path she chooses. He hands her the medicine and decides to wait and see, adding that as long as Kudo is resolved, he doesn't care how it happens. As he walks back, Yulong tells her that if she succeeds in being her true self, he will leave. Reiko collapses to her knees, relieved that she survived the encounter. Meanwhile, Miyuki wanders through Kowloon and arrives at Dr. Wong's empty clinic. As he leaves, Tao finds him. Miyuki confesses that he was actually born in Kowloon. Miyuki then shares that he was adopted by the Habanuma family in exchange for medical treatment for his sick mother. However, the promise was broken, and his mother died alone. Ironically, by entering Kowloon now, Miyuki has inadvertently prevented his own revenge. To his father, he is now the real son, a source of comfort, while Miyuki has lost his home, his mother, and much of what he once loved. He regrets not listening to Tao's advice earlier. Tao reminds him once more that he will follow Miyuki anywhere and take him wherever he wants to go. Moved, Miyuki takes Tao's hand, a moment witnessed by Yulong. Elsewhere, Reiko reflects on her existence in Kudo's world. She wonders why she alone didn't replicate her counterpart fully. What are Kudo's true intentions? Will he remain in this Kowloon, or will he eventually leave? When Reiko meets Kudo, she directly asks if he plans to stay in Kowloon. She shows him the medicine she bought, and Kudo confirms his intention to stay. Reiko questions if that's what he really wants. Kudo, reflecting on past summers where their relationship remained static, admits that her recent presence feels like a turning point, that something is about to begin, and something else is about to end. Suddenly, the entire city begins to shake and people start vanishing. Yulong's voice narrates a final thought: while Reiko is strong, can the others be as strong as she is? And can Kudo accept her for who she truly is?
As a brutal earthquake begins shaking all of Kowloon and destroying the city, Tao and Miyuki try to escape from the falling debris. But upon seeing the younger version of Miyuki and Yulong running toward Miyuki's mom, they realize that Generic Terra is finally falling apart, and they slowly make their way outside. Meanwhile, Reiko realizes she's no longer with Kudo. She starts searching for him and runs as fast as she can to avoid the crumbling floors. Despite her efforts, she falls through the ground and drowns in a large body of water, saying, "I am under the water, please help me," until her goldfish, Success, randomly gives her the ability to breathe underwater. After she asks to be taken to Kudo, the goldfish becomes a tour guide and helps her navigate the water. While this happens, Kudo starts a game of mahjong with some old folks. A couple of minutes into the game, the people begin vanishing. Mr. Chang, who turns out to be the only real person there, thanks Kudo for letting him relive his old life before leaving the city. Shortly after, Reiko arrives at the office and sees Lee the manager fading as well. She accepts that it might be the end, then walks to the stairwell to see Kudo. After saying goodbye to Success, she climbs the stairs and opens a door into a movie theater, where she watches Kudo's life story. The real Reiko has lunch with him as usual. As they talk about the demolition and the forced relocations, she repeatedly brings up how she doesn't want the summer to end, since it's the day before the end of August. After lunch, while walking, Kudo suddenly asks her to marry him. She is happy but says she'll answer tomorrow. Later that day, at the Goldfish Tea House, Tao still takes their couple photo to commemorate the moment. The next morning, Kudo goes to her place to get her answer. After knocking for several minutes, he lets himself in, and is devastated to see her slumped over on a chair outside. Soon after this, the demolition is completed. But Kudo returns to the city 2 years later, still not over what happened. When he finally finds her place and sees her glasses on the floor, he drops to his knees, blaming himself for everything. This triggers Generic Terra, turning the city into a replica of his memories. He sees Reiko sleeping in her bed and resists the urge to disturb her, only stroking her hair before leaving the apartment. As days pass, he lives like nothing happened, but deep down he knows he's repeating the summer he met her because he can't let go. After the theater screening, they both go to the Goldfish Tea House. Kudo admits that he never really knew Reiko, which may be why she wasn't replicated like everyone else. Generic Reiko agrees, saying her pursuit of her absolute self was just a way to prove she was someone to him. She tells him to face the truth and leads him to the door of her apartment, saying he has to go in alone. He tells her she never had to prove anything because she was different from the very first moment he saw her sleeping in bed. As she turns to leave, he enters the apartment, talks to his former self, and finally accepts the pain he's been running from. Meanwhile, Generic Reiko sees a cat and follows it into a dark alley, where she witnesses the night real Reiko got the pills and decided to unalive herself. Shortly after, Generic Reiko chooses to leave the city, even if it means disappearing. But once she steps outside and finds her body still intact, Yaomei rushes to hug her, saying Yulong told them to wait outside the city. Xiaohei adds because they can no longer see the city. They turn to check if Kudo is coming too, but guess he still needs time to work through everything. Suddenly, Generic Reiko sees Success struggling to breathe and quickly tries to save him, while Miyuki and Gwen watching them also escape the city. 2 years later, Reiko wakes up in Hong Kong and finishes another workday at a travel agency. She calls Yaomei to ask when she'll arrive for dinner. Shortly after arriving at the restaurant, she passes time reading a book, until Kudo suddenly appears after 2 years, apologizing for taking so long to process everything. Just then, the waiter serves her food, and Kudo begins eating Yaomei's lemon chicken while catching up with Reiko. They are finally reunited. And that ends the series.